Hey, it's Paul. Yeah, it's a bit of a rainy day today, but I thought I'm gonna go out anyway, damn it. Make a video about the course. Freaking heck. So, in chapter 27 of the course, I think it is, there's a couple of sections that contain a very radical teaching. And this teaching, whenever I present it to people, they're mostly very skeptical. It's to do with the use of the body and how your body is used to attack other people, and the state of health of the body and how it relates to how you're perceiving. There's a section I think called the picture of crucifixion, and there's another one, I don't know if it's the healing of the dream, but it's got a similar section. And this is to do with where he says, "Behold, brother, at your hand I die," or versus, "Behold, at your hand I live." Now, Jesus says something in this section which many people don't accept, and it's one of those things that I remember reading it the first time and I couldn't accept it, and it wasn't just that I couldn't accept it, I couldn't even get my head around it. It seemed so blurring of boundaries and stuff. So basically what it says is, help me, help me, Holy Spirit. What it basically says is, okay, your mind is the cause of your body. The mind makes this decision as it makes all the decisions that are responsible for the conditions of the body. So a sane mind heals the body. A broken body is proof that the mind must not be healed. So the state of your mind determines your health. All health is peace of mind or mental health, and all forms of sickness are mental illness. But because the mind is projecting the body, if the mind is sick, it also uses the body for attack and makes the body sick as well. Now, it's basically down to cause and effect. Very simple, where your mind is the cause and your body is the effect. It's something that you're producing and projecting. When you are fully aware of that and you're in true perception, you don't have any perceptual distortions at all, and you're in forgiveness, in the forgiven world, you're sane, you're in touch with that, and your sense of where I am is back here in the causality, and your body is getting projected. When you go into false perception and you go into ego, cause and effect get reversed, and your mind starts to perceive itself not as a cause but as an effect, and it displaces its cause outside and puts the effect inside, and perceives as though the effects that it is now becoming are being caused by something outside of it. And that's also basically how you project stuff onto other people and see your sin in them. Excuse me, on-camera wind attack. So as your mind flips around, it causes your perception to become inverted and backwards. You start seeing causes outside of you, and you start seeing effect as inside you, and you perceive and believe that because you're hallucinating and visualizing that there are causes making things happen to you against your will, you also are then willing to accept and allow and put into yourself those effects. And it's not really that the external thing is causing them, it's really your mind, your disassociated mind has taken its causality and put it outside you, and now is seeing it as a separate thing or a separate person. But your own mind is seeing that and also seeing itself as an effect, and its visualization of itself being an effect manifests images and illusions of the effects of attack. And those effects are always forms of sickness and symptoms of sickness. So this is a basic thing that's happening in your mind. This is the secret of salvation as well. That you're doing this to yourself because by being confused, level confused about what is cause and what is effect, you are putting cause outside and putting effect inside, and in subjecting yourself to this influence or this force that seems to be willing against your will, making you a victim and victimizing you. And therefore your mind is like indirectly perceiving the ways in which it's being attacked through external props and people and events, and creating and manifesting symptoms in the body. And so because the mind, the Course says something about when you arrest the extension of the mind, it fosters separation and induces illness. So when you're not being in the causal place and you're not extending out and causing outward, and you turn that around and you get into delusions or false perception, and now the outside seems to be coming in, that inward force is putting up a resistance against the outward force. Now you have a divided will. You're willing against your will. You're attacking yourself and producing a conflict. You have a conflict of will and you have a split mind. And so now you're at war with yourself, and your mind is trying to attack itself, and that's going to induce sickness. And that sickness is not just going to be at a mental level, because your body is actually being projected by your mind. Even when you're deluded and confused and you've disowned responsibility for the body, your mind is still the cause of the effect that is the body, and it's still projecting a body. But now it's projecting a body simultaneously while the mind is also partly perceiving backwards that you are being attacked and willed against your will and having effects show up. And so now that contaminates the projection, and now your mind starts projecting a body that demonstrates sickness. And so now you get symptoms of sickness showing up in the body that your mind has put there. And this ties in with the kind of attitude that you have when you're doing this, because this isn't just happening in your little private world. When you reverse cause and effect, you're also saying, my brother is the cause of me, the world is the cause of me, everything outside me is doing stuff against me. And that is the basis for accusing the outside of causing you and therefore sinning against you. And this is how you project your sin onto other people, by saying, you're the one that caused this, you're the one that's to blame, you did this to me. So when you go into this state of mind and you're in false perception and your perception is backwards, and you're seeing yourself as a victim, It's not just that you see yourself as a victim, it's that you also see that your brother and the rest of the world has become your attacker. So now in your level confusion, you're actually accusing them and blaming them for causing the effects in you that you put there. And you manifest these physical symptoms in the body in order to hold up a picture in front of his face and dangle it in front of his face and say, look at this. This body is sick and it's got symptoms of attack in it, and there are effects showing up in this picture, and you're the one who put them there. And so with that picture of crucifixion, you hold it up to the world and you say, look at this body. This body is an image of proof and evidence and undeniable a witness, Jesus calls it, that I have been attacked, and as part of the dynamic of the belief in that attack is the belief and the accusation and the perception that somebody else is responsible for this, and you out there caused this sickness, these symptoms. So it's kind of like somebody is like imagine somebody who doesn't have any reason to attack and deciding that they're going to try and make out that their brother is a sinner. How do I do this? The way that you do it is that I'm going to pretend that they have sinned against me, and I'm going to manifest symptoms of sickness in my body image to show them and to hold up to the world and say, look what they did, for fuck's sake, they did this to me, those wankers. And prove and like demonstrate and move it around the world to show people and try to convince them that my body image is this way because of the external cause that is other people, to try to accuse them of being the one who's a sinner. And so your sick body image, your picture of crucifixion, it's almost like you're willing to sacrifice and suffer and make yourself sick and be unwell and unhappy just so that you can put the blame for their suffering onto somebody else, and therefore find them guilty and find them accused and put your sin onto them by tolerating the suffering in your body, so that you can prove visually, experientially, that they must be a sinner because of the state of this body. Because here's the thing, your body cannot get sick on its own, nor does it need to be healed, because your mind is the cause of your body. Your mind is what's making your body sick. When your mind has level confusion and you're not your perception's back to front, a little air. It's going to rain on me though. When your mind's back to front and you're level confused, you're going to be blaming. You're going to be in a state where you're blaming. You have to blame others of being the cause of you in order for you to have effects show up in your body. And those effects can't show up unless you do that. You have to displace ownership of responsibility for causality onto something external. in order to have this dynamic where you see yourself as affected or at the effect of or having effects, symptoms, reactions that are being caused by your perceived victimhood, being victimized by the world. And if your mind doesn't do that, and you don't see yourself as victimized, and you're not at the effect of the world you see, and there isn't any causality in the world because the world is just an effect, and nothing happens to you against your will, and anything that happens you must have chosen. If you don't do that perception reversal and blame causality on others, you're going to be totally in touch with causality, and you're going to know that you are projecting the body and causing the body, and not that the body is causing your mind. Because that's something else that happens here, where as your projection reverses and you get level confused, you start believing that your body has caused its own sickness and is now affecting you against your will, even though you're the one that put it there. So you're sort of holding this, you're wanting to get rid of your belief in sin, which is really underneath that is causality. You're trying to get rid of your causality, and because you don't want to be cause, because that represents being a father, and that ties in with God existing. So you're trying to reject God by getting rid of causality. You want to put it onto somebody else, make yourself seem to be at the effect, and have all these symptoms suddenly show up in your body of sickness and disease that is symptomatic of level confusion and false perception and self-attack, that simultaneously accuses your brother of being a sinner and an attacker, and the cause of these symptoms, your mind is like looking at it backwards and saying, look, you're the one that's putting this stuff in me, when really it's that perception is entirely happening in your own mind. Ideas leave not the source. And so Jesus says sick bodies are accusers. And you would think, well, this is a course in mind training. What's it got to do with the body? And surely the body doesn't need to be healed, and surely the body is just an illusion. It's not real. Why would anybody bother with it? There's a line that says, only the mind and body need atonement. And so because of this dynamic in the mind, when the mind is using other people to attack yourself and has disowned responsibility for causality, you're going to make your body become sick, and then but you're going to simultaneously be accusing others of having been the one that did this. So now you're holding this picture of crucifixion, not just to say, I'm experiencing separation and I'm having sickness, but that I've put separation between me and others. It's attacking me and it's attacking you, because separation comes between brothers, and miracles make minds one in God and connect you with your brother. So separation makes a gap in between the two of you and attacks both of you simultaneously. So it's not just, okay, I've got some separation in my mind and it's my own private problem. It's actually that it is bidirectional and two-way. So if I'm claiming that I'm sick, I'm also claiming that you're sick. If I'm claiming that I've been attacked by an outside cause, I am attacking through that belief, because defenses are attacks. Those who are sick are trying to be contagious, and they contaminate others. That's why sickness shows up in ways that in some cases become contagious, like a virus or some horrible disease that you can catch just by breathing near to somebody, and they have to be quarantined. Severe attempts to contaminate others that is showing up as you having all the symptoms and the sickness and the difficulty, because Jesus says what you've prepared for your brother, you can be sure that you're the one who's going to get the suffering because it's going to attack you. So I keep losing my train of thought because this is so radical. So your sick bodies are accusers. So you by showing a picture, an image of a body that has been crucified and attacked and hurt, and a broken body is proof that the mind has not been healed. That is 100% literal. If there's something going wrong with the body, your mind does have an issue. A sane mind heals the body. So there cannot be a state where there's a sane mind that hasn't healed the body, and there cannot be a state where there's a sick mind that doesn't have a sick body. In some way, if the mind is sick, it's going to make the body dead at some point. And that's why you have to get to sanity in order to overcome death. So you're sort of trying to make yourself sick in order to defend against the truth, but at the same time your brother has the truth in them, so your defense is an attack on the truth, and you're now attacking your brother with this sickness and having a double-sided, two-directional attack, a separation that you've fostered and emphasized coming between you. So now in your state of sickness, and this includes death, sickness is but a little death. You're attacking your brother, and you're accusing him and saying, "Behold, look at me. Because of you, I die." And this goes even all the way to people dying, whereby you can only get to the state of death by having total reversal of perception, unwillingness to live, rejection of truth and causality, seeing yourself victimized and putting yourself in a position where you're saying, I have no power to do anything, to cause anything. I've no way to get out of this death. And therefore, I'm going to just lay down my life and accept and allow death to happen to me by an external, separate cause. And the cause of death is going to be anything other than myself. And in that, there is the most profound accusation against others that is accusing the world, other people, events and circumstances, Mother Nature, objects, of being the cause of your existence and the cause of your non-existence. And now the dream supposedly is causing you. The dream has now killed you off, and it's not my fault. The dream did it to me. And so that's the way that every person that dies, is this just surrendering to powerlessness. Death is an attempt not to will anything, to have no will to live, no willingness. It's an attempt not to make any decision at all, which is a state of total fear and indecision. Indecisiveness comes from being afraid, which is the opposite of love, which is life. And so when you go towards death, you show a picture of crucifixion of your body looking like it's been horribly attacked and beaten down and suffered and it's in pain, tortured and mangled and aged and crucified. Jesus just said. And in order to try to prove that somebody else has taken the blame and is the one who made this happen and not you. And it's the most extraordinary lie and illusion and cover-up story in the history of the world, is this fiction, this drama play by actors that suggests that I'm going to make a body that's so dead that no one will question that I did this, that I attacked God by sin, and the wages of sin is death. Nobody will suspect that I'm the one that killed God. It's going to be blamed on all you motherfuckers out there. And thereby assuage my guilt and go into death in a state of believing that I'm innocent, and seeing myself as the effect of the world and external causes, and therefore I'm not the one who did it, and I'm not the one who's to blame. It's everything else. Something else has caused me to die and be sick and suffering. This is the frickin' central teaching in the Course. This is how what you use the body for, it becomes, and use it for attack. The body becomes sick in order to prove that you've been attacked, and that accuses you of sin and accuses everyone else of sin. And eventually you cover up your part in it so much that it looks like the only cause left is outside of you, and now you can escape the consequences of your sin against God and prove that you didn't do this and you didn't want it, and death just happened and it was inevitable and there was nothing you could do to stop it, and you were just a victim. And therefore you've got away with murder, the murder of God. You've gotten away with it by pulling off this incredible stunt whereby you've managed to get everyone to believe through your body demonstration that something else caused attack, and you didn't have any attack in you at all, and you were so pure and innocent. Poor you, look at what's happened to you and your little death. And so, because sickness is a little death, and even a little bit of sickness is an attack, what is not love is murder. When you choose separation and you foster illness, you are attacking yourself and your brother, and you're trying to prove to him through demonstration with a physical image that he must have done something, just by virtue of the fact that there's a freaking body showing up here that looks as though it's sick and damaged. Just that fact alone, witnessing that, must mean and imply he did this to you, or at least the whole world did this to you, because you're in a state of disownership and projection, and so you've blamed yourself and others, and now this sickness is showing up in order to testify and try to demonstrate and prove that they're the frickin' fuckers who did this to you. So you're literally attacking others through sickness, trying to make them be affected, trying to be contagious. Sick bodies are accusers, and this is not to induce guilt. I'm not trying to make anybody guilty for your suffering and your difficulties and your struggles, okay? But this is the truth, and this is the central teaching in the Course, where Jesus is trying to get us to see that we're not supposed to demonstrate sickness or death of the body. We're not supposed to use the body while we have it. And this is where the level confused people come in and say, the body's not real, and you're not really a body, I'm free. So why bother saving bodies and fixing bodies? Fuck you, because that's level confusion, where you're trying to talk about a state that you're not even in. You're still in the body, having a body. While you're in the context of having a body, it's a very different situation than the context of I no longer need a body whatsoever because I'm so enlightened. when you try to mix the two, that's level confusion, and people use that to deny all of this teaching, that there's no point in changing the body or the world or making the body healed, or the state of the body's health doesn't matter, or sick bodies are just as much illusions as healthy ones. That is a perception that you get to when you're in true perception. But if you've got a body and you're showing, I'm going to show my brother a picture of sickness. I'm going to attack him with an accusation of sickness, which shows up as a manifestation of a physical difficulty and a limitation. I'm going to show him my limitations and make sure that he knows, God damn it, that he's a fucking asshole who put these limitations in me, and try to prove that he's a sinner. And so the only way that you don't do that, you use the body to teach love and not sickness and death. You're supposed to use the body to teach that life is the only truth, and innocence and harmlessness of reality. The only way not to attempt to teach him physically that he's a sinner is not to show an image of a picture of crucifixion of the body, to not show a sick body, to not show a dead body, to not show any suffering in the body, which means your body is in perfect health. It's a picture of radiance and immortality and innocence and loveliness. And Jesus even talks about how the body in that state becomes incapable of sickness, incapable of death. It is a lovely picture and a symbol of heaven, a symbol of incorruptibility. There's a good section in the course called The Incorruptible Body I recommend reading. But the only way that you're going to get your body to not be sick and to not show and teach sickness and death is if your mind, which is responsible 100% for every condition of the body, your mind is going to have to stop using the body for attack and has to get into a place of holiness and peace and forgiveness, so that it will only use the body to bring the word of God to those who have it not, to extend love through the body without arresting the extension of the mind. If you remember, the arresting of the extension was the reversal of cause-effect that produces sickness in the body, induces illness. The only way not to do that is not to arrest the extension of the mind, which requires loving through the body. And by loving through the body, you're sane. A sane mind heals the body. Why wouldn't you heal the body if you're sane? Why would you say, like Jesus says, a sick body makes no sense? A sick body is a ridiculous idea of nonsense. It's an attack on God. And so as you allow your mind to express love through the body and past the body and join with other minds and produce miracles, the body cannot become sick. There's no other cause of sickness other than your mind. There's no cause of death other than your choice. So unless you choose to die, you cannot do so. And nobody dies without their own consent, because you're the cause. You are causing sickness. You're causing death. And you're responsible for that choice. And that also sets you free, because it means if you don't choose to die, you will not manifest symptoms of sickness and death in the body. If you choose life, this is a course in life, not death, your mind's going to be so sane and so freely extending love that healing is going to pour through the body. There's going to be freaking miracles. The mind is stronger than the body. Every miracle demonstrates this. Therefore, if there's miracles happening because of the expression of love through the body, the mind is stronger than the body, and there's no external causes stronger than the power of your mind. Your mind is going to take authority over the body, because the body is the effect of you, and you're going to simply express love. It's going to heal the body image. And the Course talks about how the Holy Spirit has an alternative image for you to show your brother, alternative to the one that you made with your ego. He has a different body, an image of a different picture of health for you to show to your brother, to exonerate him of sin and demonstrate to him and prove to him, brother, by your hand I live. And that's where you get to. You've got to get to that point where you're no longer using the body to accuse your brother of sin, by no longer having a sick body, and instead having a healthy body that physically demonstrates. Jesus calls it a witness that is so convincing. If you show a picture of a body to your brother that's in perfect health, it symbolizes and represents immortality and innocence. He sees his forgiveness in it and recognizes that because you're not showing any effects and symptoms, you're not accusing him of sin. Therefore, your example and demonstration is proving that he must be innocent too. And the miracle that has healed your body is now going to heal him as well. Through this demonstration, your body becomes transparent by not getting in the way of the mind. Doesn't have any power over the mind. It's not, and doesn't have any causality. That's a belief in magic. And he says that because the body is so evident and convincing when you show it to your brother in a state of health, that it bypasses his beliefs and he cannot refuse what he's witnessing. He's seeing proof that whatever has come out of him has not had a consequence of death and sickness and damage. Therefore, he has not caused your image to be suffering, and therefore, oh look, there's evidence that I'm innocent. I must not have attacked. And so that teaches him, miracles are teaching devices. It teaches him that he is innocent and holy and forgiven, and it heals his mind. And Jesus says forgiveness is not complete unless it heals both you and your brother. So it's not just a matter of, I'm going to sit here and be in a state of forgiveness and looking out with forgiveness, and it's just sort of a perceptual state of mind, doesn't do anything. It's the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. And got all the quotes today. And where was I going? You forgive your brother, he sees you as unharmed, proves his innocence, has an effect on his mind, and now he gets forgiven through your forgiveness, and your proof and your demonstration of his innocence heals his mind as well. And this is something Jesus says we're supposed to demonstrate this. We're supposed to be doing this while we have a body. You're not capable of getting into a state where your mind is healed but your body's sick. because your mind is responsible for your condition of your body, so you're going to have to maintain it. You're going to have to be sitting there going, I'm maintaining a sick body. I'm going to continue to make attack on my body, so my body continues showing up as sick, but I'm sane. No, it's not going to happen. And similarly, you cannot get where your body is healthy where your body's healthy but your mind is sick. And a lot of people can seem to have healthy bodies that don't seem to have any suffering or any symptoms, but their mind is sick. What is going to be the consequence of that? The causal consequence of that is that eventually, over time, slowly, the body is going to be attacked by the mind, and it's going to suffer and get sick, and it's going to die. And that is an inevitable outcome of an insane thought system. If you believe in sin, you believe in death, and you make it happen to yourself. Even though you're not the body, while you're having a body, and in the context of having a body, you are supposed to show only health, and the ego is opposed to health, opposed to life. And this is a radical teaching in the Course, because now it means you're not just working on your mind, you're working on your mind and you're using the body as a teaching device in the world to demonstrate miracles and to prove to your brother that he's innocent, and to put on a show, a demonstration that he can witness and look at as an example and as evidence that, yes, the mind is healed, sin doesn't produce death. If you're in a body and you're not doing that, you're unconscious. If you're in a body and you're refusing to do that because you don't think it's the Course's teaching, you're still doing it. Sick bodies are accusers. If you think that this isn't the Course teaching, and it doesn't matter if the body dies, and you're not really a body, so you can just sort of get to a state of mind that transcends body stuff, and the body's still having sickness and suffering and gets cancer and brain damage and it dies, where does that sickness come from? If it's not coming from your mind, and Jesus is telling you that the mind is responsible for every condition of the body, what is this other cause that we fictionally believe in, that we try to convince others of, that the secret of salvation is not true, and I am caused by someone else. Someone else is doing this to me, and my body's sick on its own, and the world is making my body sick, and it's what I ate, and it's something in the environment, and somebody attacked me. Those are all lies. They're not the cause of any one sickness in the entire world right now. Not one of the 100,000 people that die every day and commit suicide, not one of them has died because of anything other than their choice in their mind to be dead. The death wish that they've gone through with, and trying to prove that they deserve to die, and so does everybody else. It is kind of ridiculous, and it comes down to a simple mechanic that healthy mind, healthy body. Sick mind, sick body. Sick mind accuses your brother of sin through the body by using the body to show him why he's a sinner. Healthy mind proves to your brother through the body, using the body for God's purpose, that he cannot have sinned, therefore he must be innocent, and setting him free. Your healthy body sets your brother free in the world. Within this context, when you're done using the body to teach only love, and to teach only harmlessness, and to teach only that it's a symbol of immortality. And the body itself is not immortal because it's just a symbol, it's an image in a dream. But it can be a symbol of heaven and a picture of immortality instead of crucifixion, and it can be a representative of innocence and guiltlessness, sinlessness and deathlessness, which is what the resurrection is. It's getting to a state of only life in which death has been completely denied forever, and you choose never to die. Swear, Son of God, that you will never die, Jesus says. Which also means and includes never make the body dead, ever. The body becomes nothing, and that's all it is anyway, because it's fiction, it's a dream. When you're ready to be done with using the body to bring love to others in the world, within that context, you now go out of that context into the bigger context, which supersedes the lower context. And now it's appropriate to say, I'm not a body, I'm free, and I'm still as God created me, as spirit, and I don't need a body. The ultimate purpose of the body is to teach the bodies that the body is completely unnecessary. It's a teaching device for the mind. The purpose of the world is to teach that the world is unnecessary. It's a teaching device for the mind. The purpose of perception is to learn that you do not need perception. The purpose of a teacher is to teach that you don't need a teacher anymore. The purpose of forgiveness is to demonstrate that there's nothing to forgive. The purpose of power is to show that there's nothing that you need to have power over, because there's only God's creation. And these all seem paradoxical and backwards, but they're not. And so you get to the where you don't need the body anymore, and you've learned that the body's not real, and you overcome death, and then you disappear the body instead of killing it. So that you don't get to the end and then you suddenly say, okay, I'm done with bodies now. I don't need this one. I'm just going to show a picture of crucifixion at the last minute. Make a dead body show up. No, fuck them. They don't mind. Never mind that it accuses them with its fetid stench of death as they walk past, and tries to prove to them that they're not innocent, even in death. Instead of doing that as your exit strategy, you're supposed to make the body just disappear and vanish, and you ascend to heaven, and that the body is no more, and you don't need it. God did not create the body. The body is not real at any point in time. At no time is the body real. And then it's appropriate to say the stuff that people say in level confusion. It's now appropriate to say sick bodies are just as much an illusion as dead ones, or just as much illusory as healthy ones. From that perspective, when you're in that perspective, in that place, when you're in heaven, you don't even have a body anymore. That's when that truth is applicable. If you try to make that truth the truth here, while you still have a body, you are in level confusion and you're in denial, and you will then use the body to attack others and think that you can get away with murder by showing them sickness and death and saying that's okay because the body is an illusion and sickness is no more an attack than health. It's bullshit. In the big picture, yes, it's all just the same dream, doesn't matter. But if you have that attitude and you treat people that way while you're here having a body, you are trying to use the body for attack, and you are making the body an accuser. You can't get away with this and just have level confusion and say that that's how you justify murder. If you have a body, you must show only a healthy body to demonstrate that only life is true. If you don't have a body, then there's nothing to worry about. That's the only two states. this whole fictional state of I have a body and it's not coming from my mind, and something else is causing sickness, something else is maintaining death, and it's not my responsibility, and I don't need to change the image, and it doesn't matter if it shows pictures of death to my brothers. It doesn't matter. That's all the ego's bullshit. False perception, backwards perception, level confused, backwards cause and effect, delusion. The belief in death is the belief that there are external causes. Somebody else is responsible for my body. Doesn't matter what state the physical is in, because it's somebody else's. The world is going to maintain it for me. The world causes my body. If my body's dead, it's the world's fault. That's convenient. So you've got to get past all those beliefs that something external is the cause of you or your body, and you must only have causality coming out of you from mind to body, from heavenly mindedness, miracle mindedness, shining through the body and making the body a picture of immortality instead of crucifixion. And only when you're done having a body and you disappear it, only then can you start talking about this higher level stuff of bodies are all the same illusion no matter what state they're in, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, it mangles the dynamics of what's happening in the mind on this level, and people are getting into denial, heavy denial, that this is even a course teaching, that it's what Jesus intended, that it's what he means, and we are to only demonstrate life through the body and then make it disappear. And it's as simple as that. And if we don't do that, we are in a state of attack and counterattack and accusation, and there's no escaping that. So the body does factor in to the atonement plan. The body does need to get to a state of atonement. The body does need to get back to health, and it needs to become a picture of holiness and health, even if it's an illusion. Otherwise, your mind must be using it for attack, because it can only be in those states when your mind is sick. So a sick body proves the mind has not been healed. So that should make you think twice about this fictional fantasy of having a sick body but my mind is fine, not caring about a dead body but my mind is fine. You are responsible for both of those. They're coming from you. Nobody else's fault that the sickness and the death is showing up. And this is why we have to take responsibility for everything that we do and everything we experience, including the body. And this is the central teaching in the Course. It's one of the most radical teachings in the Course. It's one of the hardest to accept. And there's a lot of rejection of it. There's a lot of defenses against it. There's a lot of level confused arguments that try to prove that it's not true. Jesus didn't get sick. Jesus only proved life. He only demonstrated life. He brought the sick and the dead back to life and raised the dead, literally, physical death, literally, to demonstrate miracles, supernatural miracles, as in A Course in Miracles, to show and prove through his demonstration to others and the healing of others and their bodies and their minds, and his own body getting to a state of perfect life, or shall we say a symbol of perfect life, to get to the resurrection. And that's what he demonstrated. That's what we're supposed to demonstrate also. That's what we're supposed to use the body for. And it has no other purpose unless you want it to have an ego purpose of death. So anyway, this has been fairly comprehensive today. Hopefully it was you could follow what I was trying to say and see some of these metaphysical dynamics and life, health, happiness, and healing and resurrection to you. And talk to you again soon. Bye.